Follow us as we travel to the Amazon rainforest, one of the most diverse habitats in the world. The tropical rainforest has four main characteristics: very high annual rainfall, high average temperature, nutrient-poor soil, and high levels of biodiversity. Rainforests receive very high rainfall each year. For example, South America's tropical rainforest receives around 6.5 to 10 feet of rain per year. Despite the high annual rainfall, the tropical rainforest also experiences a distinct dry season. Tropical rainforests are found near the equator, between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. The equator receives a constant flow of sunlight, which keeps the biome relatively warm throughout the year. The average temperature in the Amazon rainforest is around 80 degrees Fahrenheit, although it can be much higher. The standard deviation of temperature is around 9 degrees between rainforests. Due to the lush foliage, a common misconception regarding tropical rainforests is that they have nutrient-rich soil. However, it is the opposite because nutrients are not stored in the plants for very long. The constant rainfall washes away the decomposed organic material before it is time to seep into the soil. In addition, the rainwater seeps into the ground and plants quickly absorb the nutrients before it is time to diffuse into the soil. Tropical rainforests are areas of high biodiversity. For example, the Borneo tropical rainforest is reported to have more than 15,000 plant species, including 2,500 species of orchids. According to biologists, tropical rainforests contain 50% of the world's terrestrial plant and animal species, but only take up 6% of the world's land area. A food web shows the relationship between organisms in a biome. Here we have the tropical rainforest food web. It consists of producers, primary consumers, secondary consumers, and tertiary consumers. There is an abundance of producers distributed in the tropical rainforest, such as the coconut and bamboo trees. Primary consumers consist of animals who eat the producers, such as monkeys and deer. The secondary consumers eat the primary consumers. The tertiary consumers are mostly carnivorous, eating the secondary and primary consumers. Some are snakes, jaguars, and crocodiles. These consumers don't have any predators within their biome and therefore are on the top of the food chain. The largest source of energy comes from the sun. Primary consumers feed off of this energy through eating producers. A small portion of the energy is transferred to secondary and tertiary consumers after eating primary or other secondary consumers. An important part of the tropical rainforest biome are also the decomposers. These organisms break down decaying material and recycle nutrients back into the earth. There are 5 types of symbiotic relationships. One is competition, where 2 or more organisms fight for the same resource. An example is bamboo trees. A striking characteristic of bamboo trees are that they are tall and slender, so many can grow in the same space and compete for sunlight. This is beneficial because more trees can fit into a small area. However, some bamboo trees cannot reach as close to the sun as others. Therefore, some have adapted to grow at a short height. In some cases, surrounding plants or trees have collapsed, causing more sunlight to reach the shorter bamboo plants. This causes these short bamboo plants to take advantage of the available sunlight and grow increasingly fast. Another type of symbiotic interaction is predation. This is the relationship between 2 organisms of predator and prey. The predator always benefits and the prey is always harmed. An example is the boa constrictor snake and the iguana iguana. Snakes are strictly carnivorous. They eat a variety of animals, including the iguana. In this relationship, the iguana is harmed because it has been killed, and the snake benefits because it is eating. Parasitism is the symbiotic relationship of 2 organisms where one benefits and the other is harmed. This is similar to predation. The difference is that one organism takes over another organism and uses it as a host. Fungi and coconut trees are an example of parasitism. Many fungi form a variety of bracket fungal bodies. An example is the aspen bracket fungus. Bracket fungi kill their host tree. Fungi indirectly benefit other species by creating deadwood habitats. This is important to species such as the aspen hoverfly. Mutualism is the symbiotic interaction where 2 organisms benefit from each other. Capuchin monkeys and flowering trees such as the bromeliad are a great example. Bromeliads provide monkeys with nectar as food. After receiving their food source, the monkeys get pollen on their fur. As monkeys move around, they distribute pollen and provide pollination of more flowers into other areas. The monkeys benefit by receiving their food, and the flowering trees benefit by having more of their species dispersed in the tropical rainforest. Commensalism is the symbiotic relationship of 2 organisms where one organism benefits from the other, but the other organism is neither helped or harmed. An example of this would be the poison dart frog and banana tree leaves. Frogs need shelter and protection, so they use leaves of plants and trees to protect them against forces such as rain and sunlight. The plant is not benefited or harmed when the frog uses it as shelter. Therefore, it is a commensalism relationship. Population distribution is the spacing of animals of a specific species over a set area. There are three types of population distribution: clumped, random, and uniform. Clump distribution is when animals of a species live together in groups, oftentimes for protection or for resources. It is the most common type of distribution. An example of a species who demonstrate clump distribution in the tropical rainforest is the vampire bat. A group of bats is called a colony. Organisms demonstrate clump distribution when resources are scarce. Organisms need specific resources to survive, and if those resources become scarce, they clump around the resources for survival. Animals also clump together if it is traditional that young stay with the groups they are born into. A vampire bat born to a specific colony will grow up, stay in, and reproduce in that colony. Lastly, animals clump together for protection or to corner prey. Bats use echolocation to locate each other and identify prey as a colony. A large group of animals is more dangerous than a single organism, and a large group of organisms deters predators from attacking them. The large group of organisms also makes it easier to corner and trap prey. Think of how thousands of bats fly from one location at a specific time, making it almost impossible for the prey to escape them. The next type of population distribution is random. Random distribution pertains to seeds. The wind can blow seeds on plants or on the ground to any number of different locations. A river, lake, rain, or another body of water can take seeds on the ground and move them to different locations as well. Pollen from plants gets stuck on the fur of animals and is moved randomly as the animal moves through the forest. A rhesus monkey may rub against an orchid, and when it travels, it can deposit the pollen of the orchid in a new location. Random distribution is the least common type of distribution and is determined by uncontrollable factors like wind, water, or animals. Random distribution occurs in environments where conditions and resources remain constant. The last type of population distribution is uniform. Uniform distribution means that the distance between every organism is the same. It maximizes the space in an area. Organisms must maximize the space when there is a need for resources. In the tropical rainforest, jaguars are an example of a species that exhibit uniform distribution. Jaguars don't travel in packs. They travel alone or with their young until their young is able to support itself and leaves. Like all other organisms, the jaguar needs specific resources to survive and gathers all of the resources by itself. To do this efficiently and not waste lots of energy, it protects an area that contains all the needed resources. Another reason animals demonstrate uniform distribution is for territorial purposes. Jaguars are very territorial animals and able to defend their territory fiercely. Jaguars have very sharp teeth, claws, and are very fast. These characteristics make it easy for the animal to be territorial. The graph above shows the survivorship curve of two monkey species in the tropical rainforest, the rhesus monkey and the carambe monkey. A survivorship curve is a graph that shows the number or proportion of individuals surviving to each age for a given species or group. Both monkeys do not live past the age of 25. Monkeys have a type 1 survivorship curve because they have a high probability of surviving at an early age, and the likelihood of surviving decreases as they age. Monkeys receive parental care until they reach adulthood. Due to their ability to survive from a young age and care for the young for an extended period of time, monkeys do not produce a lot of offspring. This strategy is called K strategy. Nitrogen is essential for all plants and animals. However, plants cannot use the chemical form of nitrogen that exists in the air. When plants or the consumers that eat plants die, nitrogen is released into the soil and water. In tropical rainforests, the large microbial populations are responsible for nitrogen fixation. Many tropical rainforests are limited in their ability to grow because of low nitrogen levels due to losing tremendous quantities of nitrogen into the soil and into water as dissolved nitrogen. When plants in the tropical rainforest respire, die, or burn, the carbon within the plants is released back into the environment. The carbon released into the ground is stored as sediments underneath river, ocean, and lake beds. Over time, the sediment turns into fossil fuels for humans to harvest. In addition, carbon can also be absorbed by animals eating plants. From there, the carbon is passed from the primary consumer to the secondary consumer and finally ends at the tertiary consumer level. The carbon from this process is released when animals respire and when the tertiary consumer dies. From this point, the cycle begins again. The water cycle begins when the roots of plants take up water from the surrounding soil. The water moves through the plant and goes out through the stomata, a process called transpiration, and the water is released back into the atmosphere when it is evaporated from the plant leaf. The level of water in the atmosphere rises, and it eventually rains. The rainfall is intercepted at the canopy level, and the process begins again. This is convectional rainfall. A problem across all habitats, but that is especially prevalent in the tropical rainforest because of its plentiful resources, is deforestation. Deforestation is when trees are cut down and areas cleared to make room for urban settlements or to gather materials needed for urban settlements. Large areas of the tropical rainforest have been cleared and it has had a substantial effect on the surrounding environment. Since 1978, over 750,000 square kilometers of the Amazon rainforest has been cut down. The loss of so much land has impacted the habitat of thousands of animals, messing up the food webs when organisms go extinct or move to other areas. When cut down, coconut trees, food for some and home for others, are lost in such high numbers that the animal species are harmed, and it makes it almost impossible for the coconut tree to grow back. The loss of trees and other vegetation also harms the indigenous people who live near the rainforest. The loss of space takes away their agricultural space. Taking away so many trees and plants rips the nutrients from the soil. As said earlier, carbon and nitrogen move through the soil and into plants and into the atmosphere. When trees and plants are ripped from the earth, the carbon and nitrogen and other nutrients essential for healthy plant growth are taken from the soil and it leaves the soil very nutrient poor. The trees in the tropical rainforest contain lots and lots of recycled carbon. When they are cut down, the carbon is released into the atmosphere. The tropical rainforest receives a lot of rain, and when the rain evaporates, it cools the air and causes lowered temperatures. Because of the loss of trees and other vegetation, not as much of the rain evaporates. Instead, it soaks into the earth or goes into bodies of water. This causes an increase in the annual global temperature. Higher temperatures and increased carbon levels play a part in global warming and also give a rise to the greenhouse effect.